Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Epics of Irindal, our homebrew world and campaign. Last time, our intrepid party had entered into the city of Mirstadt, one of the largest cities on the continent of Irindal, on the southern center of this continent, a major trade hub for the entire continent and the extended world as a whole. An eclectic concentration of all the world's travelers moving in and out at all given times, taking in large amounts of cargo and goods and people of all sorts. Quite the metropolitan hub, if you will, of trade in this part of the world. Upon arriving, you all took the advice of Sir Winston Percival, your brief but eclectic traveling companion that you had rescued in the Aelenwalt forests. Upon entering the cities, you headed down into the Bars district, an area that you, Dazes, were familiar with, a location known as the Silly Walk. And despite its interesting name, it is a challenge in and of itself, a drinking challenge, a bar crawl, if you will, through this area. Upon arriving, though, you were met with a strange conflict. A small child, or small group of children, rather, apparently had tried to acquire some produce from one of the local vendors, and one of which was caught, a small minotaur child, but didn't want their companions to be noticed, but was unable to escape the individual, shop owner, if you will, who had caught them to some degree red-handed in the process. But Floof, you interjected yourself and proceeded to knock this man flat on his ass.
Oops.
Which sparked quite the incident in the Silly Walk as people gathered around. But you were able to swiftly exit yourselves with a combination of magical abilities, one of which, Trash, you had disguised yourself as a rather inebriated halfling noblewoman, and were able to make enough of a scene to allow your larger, more conspicuous companion to step away and allow this other small child to escape. And in that process, you were able to escape the city guard that approached, unsure of what was going on. But rather not find out, you all made like a tree and leaved, or made like a tree and left. That did not work out well. We'll edit that later. Not what I intended to say. But anyway, moving on.
Please leave that whole interaction in.
As my brain just shuts off for about 30 seconds. But you all headed in a random direction, heading towards the northwestern wall again, coming upon another less savory corner of this district. A smoker's den, if you will, known as the Fragrant Flocks. Inside, you came upon, surprisingly, the individual that you were looking for, a red-skinned tiefling individual by the name of Lucas. After which you had a extended conversation with Lucas, as they attempted to understand you all as you attempted to understand them, exchanging various tidbits of information. You realize that this individual was not necessarily entirely illicit in their methods, but was by no means clean in their methodology either, as they relieved a noblewoman of some of their jewelry on the way out. But chose to escort you all to what you assumed is your destination, after a number of exchanges looking for an individual named Enrique Sandis in a location called the Hawk and Key. After a very extended trek through the undercroft of the...
Still here, bitch!
Damn it.
Snap.
Why are my alerts not turned off? Anyway, that happened last session with my other group as well. Thank you, LGG. I appreciate it. But you all had... you followed Lucas through the undercroft of the city, through the various aqueducts and passages that boats use in these under portions of the city to move canals, if you will, for smaller vessels underneath the city. And at the point where you were just about certain you all were being led astray, you came to a location, what looked like a service entrance to a dead end, if you will. And Lucas applied a number of various methods to open up this grate that seemed to be magically locked by some means, upon which you were drugged through an illusory wall into a large cavernous location, probably meant to be an abandoned storm trap, if you will, an area for large amounts of storm water during the rainy season to capture said stormwater before it was adequately ejected from the city so it doesn't flood the city itself. Upon which you realize there was a massive makeshift shanty town and carnival of sorts, arena in this large containment area, this cavernous containment location. And you were greeted by all manner of individuals, most of which were of the lower tiers of society, some of which were likely escapees for various reasons. At this point, Trash, you realize that the three children that you had come across in the along the Silly Walk, the bars district, you now encountered again, and you had a very delightful exchange with the small goblin girl that had ultimately caused this whole incident with her less than trained use of magics. But you gave a small trinket, imbuing it with your Artificer powers in order to help this girl, and in case something like this ever happened again. And you come to realize that you're not alone in this world. There are a large number of individuals that are born with magical means, but not the training to use them properly. Upon which you were then escorted into the large carnival-like center of this location, the Cirque du Hell's Keep, and you were greeted by the ringmaster, who called upon the crowd after a prior event was just in the process of being cleaned up. And you all engaged in the final bout of the evening, a display of gladiatorial spectacle, if you will. And you all were greeted with a terrifying creature, a strange teleporting dog-like creature with 6 legs and tentacles that writhe from its spine. But you were successful in putting this creature down, this creature of the Fey realm. And you were given a bounty, or a pot, if you will, of 800 gold as a prize for completing this. After which, as everyone began to exit this arena, you were brought to the realization that this ringmaster was in fact Enrique Sandus, the man that you were looking for, another infernal individual, and also the sibling of Lucas, whom they had neglected to explain to you all. But now you were being escorted away from the prying eyes of individuals in this segment of the city, this underground shanty town, to a more comfortable office environment. And as you enter, you're greeted with plush leathers. A soft smell of incense burns in the corner of this lounging office area. The furniture is finely crafted. It's a very stark contrast to the shantytown nearby, but you get the idea, based on the clutter in here as well, that it is used heavily as a means of organizing this whole ordeal. Enrique motions to you all to have a seat as he sits down at his large oak desk and gathers up some items. Lucas sits down without effort in one of the adjacent lounge chairs and watches you all as the conversation commences. Well, welcome you all to my humble little abode in this slice of the world. Welcome, my name is Enrique Sandus. You've already met Lucas, I'm sure, as they brought you here. It was quite the bout you had there in the carnival, in the cirque. Please, tell me more of why you're here.
I'm gonna reach in my little thing and pull out the piece of leather and hold it up to him and be like, "What is this?"
It looks like a scrap piece of leather. I'm not quite sure what you are looking for, but
Killed mother.
your mother was killed by a scrap of leather?
I'm immediately frustrated and start growling at him.
No offense, sir. I'm just a bit confused. I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
Killer had this weird blue liquid out.
A bit of evidence, if you will. Do you mind if I take a look?
I hesitantly hand it to him.
He grabs it gingerly from your hand. You notice on his hand he has a number of rings and a fine silk tunic on, and he has the scent of lavender about his person. This individual's very well put together and very refined by comparison to Lucas, his younger sibling. But you get the idea that they're both very reserved in some sense, but also very flamboyant in others. That what you initially see in their personalities, you all would kind of notice this, having spent a bit more time with them now, that they put on a guise, if you will. They have a mask, a sort of unseen mask, if you will, to their persons. That what you see initially is not necessarily the entire story of these individuals. They're far more complex in their methodology and their words and their movements around different types of people. A mask for every occasion, if you will. Enrique turns the scrap of leather over and over in his fingertips, looking at it carefully. Examining it and noticing immediately the stain upon it as he rubs his thumb across it, and then scratches it a bit with his nail, allowing a bit of the residue to come off at the end of his fingernail. Ah. I've seen something like this before. A mineral compound, not entirely common. You said this was at the corpse of your mother.
Yes.
Interesting. Unfortunately, the only thing is I can say, based on what I see here, is that they had upon them some sort of magical means. I'm not quite sure without a bit more time to look at it, but based on what I know, that this looks like some sort of lunarium residue.
Lunarium?
Yes, it's the compound that you often see in the arcane engines that power a lot of vessels around this world. It is an amplification mineral, if you will. It comes out of the southeastern portion of the world, deep in the deserts, the dangerous Feedy Dunes, as you all would know them. It's harvested there by the Jamila dynasty, and is also quite the controlled substance by the magistrate, at least in its unrefined form. And he carefully hands the scrap of leather back to you.
Okay. I put it back in my pocket and turn to Trash and Dazes and say, "You guys remember all that?"
Enough.
Yes.
All right. I sit down.
And was what I was holding the package to deliver, right? I think.
Yeah,
I
think it's in your
believe
bag.
so.
Yes. Okay. So I'll say at our other business, and then I'll take out the tube and I'll present it to Enrique.
Ah, yes, I was expecting a delivery from Miguel. Can I venture to guess this is it?
That is correct.
Wonderful, wonderful. May I?
And I hand it over.
He takes the wooden tube from you, Trash, holding it, carefully in each hand, and setting it down on the desk, before reaching his thumb up to his lips and his teeth, and biting softly into the end of his finger, drawing a bit of blood on the end of his thumb. And then from there, he presses his thumb into the center parchment wrapped around this tube. And then from there, almost like the key inserting into a lock, he turns his thumb 90 degrees, and you see this parchment begin to glow softly before it incinerates itself beneath his thumb, releasing the case, this tubular case. Miguel, he was always quite adept at warding runes. You all didn't try to open this before you brought it here, did you?
Nope.
Probably for the best. It would have had quite the explosive repercussion had you done so. But as he's
I
saying,
was curious, but
Pardon
I
me?
didn't go that route. I said I will admit I was curious, but
well, it's for the best you probably didn't. You know, curiosity in the cat and all that. And he lifts open the case, and at this point you all see, from where you are, this very elegantly made silver cane or silverish cane that I would say is approximately, 3 to 3.5 feet long, coming up from the floor up to about this individual's waist, or just at the hip, I should say. But at the end, you notice this gemstone clad in glass with a soft blue glow. And at this point, this is, for those of you who are not familiar with the arcane substance that powers a lot of these motors and these engines, these feats of modern magic, it is quite an elegant and beautiful substance in its refined state. He pulls the cane up and looks it over very intelligently, looking at the craftsmanship and the make, then the fit and finish of this cane. Absolutely exquisite, Miguel. You certainly haven't lost your touch, I must say. Yes, this is absolutely worth a keep's ransom, if you will. What I hold in my hand. And he puts his hand over the top of the glass encrusted lunarium cane end, and then kind of lets it fall under its own weight against the floor, making a soft thud against the wooden floor. You see kind of the end of the crystal light up just a bit more before fading again. Well. Absolutely worth it. And I owe you all payment, of course, as I'm sure Miguel arranged. So let me see to that first, and then we can continue our little dialogue. I do have some additional questions for you all. And he reaches into a drawer on the left-hand side of this desk, producing a small pouch that he sets upon the desktop. You hear the clanking of coins inside. I believe 300 gold was what was promised to you all upon completion. As he pushes that against the end of the table for you all to take a look at and take with you.
That sounds right. I honestly don't remember.
It's 300 gold.
My eyes are fixated on this cane because I'm getting a little hint of that lunarium at the end of it, and just I don't even care about the money. I'm just glaring at that cane.
Okay. Give me an Arcana check.
Okay.
$18. You sense a strong energy coming from this, not unlike the other bits and pieces of lunarium that you've seen thus far in your interaction with it, but this is far more refined in its interaction with an individual holding it. It doesn't have the rawness that you've sensed otherwise in your other interactions with it, coming directly from creatures. This is like the difference between finding a rough cut diamond, in a cave somewhere, and seeing an exquisitely carved engagement ring stone, and the difference in value and focus that you sense from this jeweled end of this cane is tenfold what you've sensed from just the bits and pieces that you've interacted with thus far.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna sit here and stare only at that blue the blue end of it, and I'm kind of breathing but growling a little bit at the same time because I just don't like being in the same room as it because it brings back memories of Mama Bear.
Dazes, Trash, what are you doing during this whole interaction?
I guess I've just been looking at the cane. Am I able to deduce that it's just maybe some sort of like I'm blanking on the word, but almost like a wand, like some sort of magical casting component, like
Staff.
or
maybe?
staff or something like that, yeah.
Give me either an investigation or an arcana check as well.
That was 10 plus 3, so 13.
Arcana or investigation?
Arcana, I'll say. But
Okay.
it's
With a 13, it's hard to say. You recognize this substance for sure, and what you remember from your brief experiences with more of this refined lunarium, this is one of the few times you've seen it in this style, but what you briefly know is that, certain members of the magistrate, particularly Catherine, you've seen her use a similar arcane focus with lunarium at its core. And that's what you're able to deduce just from looking at it. Well, well. Thank you all for bringing this with me. This is immensely necessary for some upcoming trials our little society will have. But that being said, I'm curious, where are you all headed after this little delivery, as I'm sure, Mirstadt is a beautiful city, but it's not one place many call home.
Magisterium.
Ah, you're headed to the Magisterium Tower in town. Wonderful, wonderful. Do you all have associations with the magistrate?
Well, we met an individual on our way here who, if I remember correctly, may have associations with the magistrate himself. Sir Winston Percival.
And Lucas cuts in. Oh, yes, Winnie. Yeah. Enrique, darling, yes. They came in contact and actually helped our good friend Winnie. Ah, Sir Winston Percival. Yes. He's quite the purveyor. He was actually the one who initiated this little exchange with Miguel. I was aware of his ability to craft such implements for many, many years now, but I didn't have a personal connection with the man. That was initiated by Sir Winston. Quite the charming individual, although a bit unable to how should I say this? Keep himself out of trouble. He's quite the traveling individual and isn't as familiar with different cultures and areas, and there are many perils, if you will. It sounds like he found himself in another one of these situations. He's quite adept at doing that, I might say.
Yes, it sounds like him.
Quite. Now, I'm going to go ahead and point out the elephant in the room here. How do you all react to when you came upon this place? What were your impressions?
Hate it.
I'm sorry to hear that. What about the other two of you? I'm quite curious.
Very interesting locale.
What about the people? I can understand the location isn't quite the same as the more beautiful segments of the city, but the city is only as good as its people. I'm curious, what are your impressions of the individuals here?
They seem perfectly fine people to me.
And you, little one, and he looks at you, Trash. I noticed you're adept at magecraft during the little event. What are your impressions of the citizenry here in our little neck of the woods?
Well, I only had a chance to interact with a few of them, but I think it's nice that there is a place for them to go where they protect their own, and the community is important, especially in a city where they can be a little bit cutthroat, and then the city guard remains ever watchful. So I think there seem to be some good folk around here, and they hopefully look after each other.
Quite. As I'm sure you're aware, your connections with the magistrate, that although they are the predominant purveyors of magical means and implements across the continent, they are by no means the only source of spellcasters and magically born individuals on our continent. In fact, they're quite the minority in that regard, as many individuals are born in this world with the arcane gift, if you will. Meaning that there are far more individuals that grow up without the proper training, the proper understanding of what they're able to do, and as such, the likelihood of danger grows immensely. At this point, Lucas kind of looks over at his brother. Enrique, darling, I encountered these individuals briefly before later encountering them in one of my other haunts, if you will. They seem to be of an understanding of the individuals here. I don't sense that their intents are malicious, if that's what you're getting at. At this point, Enrique kind of looks at you all with a bit more ease in their voice, less coy in his questioning. And he kind of reaches under the desk and carefully pulls out an object. Dazes and Floof, you would not recognize this, but Trash, you recognize it innately with an intense fear, as he places a rather heavily damaged looking hooded lantern on the top of his desk, the front of which has been blown out where the focusing lens would be is shattered, but you still see that it's got this intricate filigree and cladding about it as he reaches up and sets it with a thud on the desk. And that thud is almost like the sound of a hammer striking an anvil in your mind as you recall the look of this implement. Although damaged, this is one of the Inquisition's most infamous tools. You recall the light that would emanate from this lens were it in functioning form. Feeling it drain away the arcane abilities that you have come to know from birth, and drain away your ability, your natural born abilities as a spellcaster, as the light is cast upon you. In fact, give me a wisdom saving throw.
That is saving throw. So 18.
18. You're able to hold steady where you sit, but just as were you not prepared earlier from your hearing the name of the Inquisition, you might have, ran in fear from the sight of this object. As you stare at it intently, knowing full well what this is. A tool to subjugate criminal mages, at least those viewed as criminals by the Inquisition. Their main tool of smothering the innate arcane abilities of those they hunt. And Enrique kind of looks at you intently, noticing that the other two don't react to it, but looking at you and your intense reaction. I see you've seen one of these before.
Why do you have one?
Because many of the individuals here in the Cirque have encountered this little lantern themselves. Many would have otherwise been apprehended and arrested were they not allowed safe harbor here. Although we guise ourselves as a shantytown and carnival of sorts, it's not my main reason for creating this location. And you see now he's kind of rustling his fingertips against a little silver pin on his chest that looks like a music note on his lapel. I'm part of an organization that allows for wrongfully accused individuals to find for themselves a better life outside of these major cities. The reason I ask is, you seem familiar with the magistrate, but they are by no means the majority of magically born individuals on this continent. In fact, not even close. many individuals don't have the luxury of proper training, schooling. Magistrate is a business by its very nature. It does not operate as a charity. And for those who can't afford such training, they are left to their own devices. Some grow and are lucky enough to innately understand the gifts they are born with. Others are not so lucky. They simply can't control the untrained magics that they're born with, and as such are a danger to themselves and others, and they attract the ire of the church. And at this point, Trash, you recall a memory of watching such an arrest as you remained hidden in a sewer in the capital city of Magnolia, as you watched an individual smothered in an intense light from one of these lanterns as they crumbled to the ground, unable to defend themselves as they were bound and restrained and dragged off by members of the Inquisition. A terrifying memory. It sounds like you've seen what can happen when one isn't properly trained.
I unfortunately have had my run-in with the Inquisition.
I won't continue to beat around the bush. We are part of an organization known as the Silver Sonnet. We facilitate a means of these individuals who are wrongfully accused. Not to say every mage-born individual is not without their issues, but many are simply trying to come to terms with what they cannot control, what they are naturally born with, many of which are not so lucky to formally be trained by the magistrate. There simply isn't enough resources on this continent to do so. So we work in kind with a number of other locations across this continent to ferry these individuals away to locations less impactful, if you will. We've noticed over the last 10 or so years that, especially in largely populated cities like this one, the amount of mage-born individuals, spellcasters at birth, has risen quite substantially, and as such the incidents that follow seem to occur quite frequently. And many of these children and young adults are without any means of surviving. So they turn to crime. Inevitably, they find themselves in the eyes, in the lantern light of the Inquisition.
I'm gonna turn to Trash and just be like, I don't get it. That thing stopped magic.
When it's working, yes.
That one work?
No, or I wouldn't be in this room.
Enrique kind of rolls up his sleeve, and you see there is this intense scorch mark across his right forearm. This is the result of what I had to do last time to escape when we came in direct conflict with members of the Inquisition. To be perfectly frank with you, we were lucky. You see
Scar.
Luke... Pardon me?
I was just gonna say, Scar don't look that bad.
Maybe. I look at it now as a bit of a trinket of sorts, a reminder to be more careful in the future. And you see his grip tighten on the cane. But I'm only one person. I often require the assistance of individuals to assist others in escaping this city when the need calls for it. At that point, he kind of taps his cane and calls off, Aniela, are you in the other room? And at this point, you kind of notice there's a smaller door off to the left-hand side of the room. And you kind of hear a rustle in the other room, and a bit of grunting and from the other room as the door swings open inside, and out walks a young woman, probably in her mid to late 20s, with bluish skin. In fact, I will just show you guys. Just a moment here. You all would recognize this woman as one of the air Genasi. Did that pop up for you all?
Yes.
Okay. She's wearing a kind of a emerald gold or emerald green top, tarnished brown pants, thin set step shoes, and has intricate white line tattoos all over her body, and an intense stare. You also notice that she has a variety of scars all across her body, on her shoulders, her chest, her exposed midsection, and this woman is very well built, and very large by Air Genasi standards. She stands not quite as tall as you, Floof, but perhaps 6 to 7 inches short of where you are, but well taller than everyone else in the room. She kind of steps in and grabs a towel off of one of the adjacent chairs and begins wiping sweat from her brow. Is this something I can do for you, Enrique? Yes. Everyone, this is Aniela. She's one of our conductors. For this segment of the sonnet. And Aniela kind of looks at him and gives him an intense stare, and then looks back at you all. Enrique, can these individuals be trusted? Would you really be telling them who we are? I believe so, Aniela. In fact, I would ask you all to if you have the time to assist me with a certain matter, business of the sonnet. But I cannot force you to do so. I simply... One of the other... methods I do to find talent in the city is to have this little event every few weeks to discover individuals who may fall in line with our ideals here in the Cirque. And those who are capable of defending themselves as well. Oops. And I believe that the three of you might fit that bill. If you're willing to hear me out. Of course, I wouldn't ask you to do this for free either. You see Agnella kind of sit down on the chair beside you, Trash, her large form dwarfing you pretty significantly. So I ask, formally, do you hear me out on a proposition? A bit of commissioned work, if you will.
I believe so, yes.
Floof and Trash, what are your thoughts? Well, how are your characters reacting to what's going on here?
I'm looking visibly frustrated. I kind of turn to maybe Trash, and I'm just like, Magisterium first. Too many distractions. I just want to figure out what's going on with this piece of leather. I don't really care about this, but
I will say I'm at least I'm listening. I see kind of I'm reminded of, you know, the little goblin girl harness and this underground place and the kind of sense of kinship they have, and it does make me a little bit like hopeful for this space. And so I want to listen, because there's a part of me that thinks what they're doing is a good thing, but I'm cautious because there's my connection with Catherine and the magistrate, and it's a very overwhelming for me, but I'm at least silently kind of like I'm listening.
Dazes, how are you reacting to this discussion?
Well, while I'm open to hearing any proposition, I do believe that my friend here, Floof, makes a good point. We do have relatively important business to attend to at the Magisterium. So if we were able to tend to that business first, then yes, I would be open to hearing your proposition.
Of course. This is by no means something that needs to occur tonight. I understand that you all are tired and a bit worse for the wear after your bout in the arena. Daniela, this is more your purview. Perhaps you can explain to our guests here what exactly we need. Well, we need individuals who aren't going to kick the bucket quite so easily. We would actually have some fight with them, and I don't believe these individuals do.
Well, we haven't kicked the bucket quite yet.
You simply fought one displacer beast.
We fight everybody we run into because of these guys.
Give me an intimidation check, Floof.
Okay. Five.
With a 5. Aniela slowly stands and looks. Are you standing up or are you sitting down right now?
I'm sitting.
You're sitting. Although she's not quite taller than you, she rises above you in her presence. And she stares down at you as you sit with a gaze like staring up at a readying storm, as her eyes pierce through you like the flashes of lightning in that storm. I've seen many like you in my days. Plenty of potential. But that's all it was. Potential. Nothing more.
I stand up to make sure that she knows that I'm taller or bigger than her. And I look down at her and say, "You don't matter to me."
I've seen all I need, Enrique. I think you should find your help elsewhere.
I think you're a little short for allies, and I think you're sizing up the wrong bunch. I can't speak for the two of my companions, but I know I'm a survivor, and I have seen horrors, and I have seen filth, and I have seen the darkest, most depraved side of humanity. And I think you're a little short for help. So...
give me a persuasion check.
17 plus 2 is 19.
19. Interesting. At this point, with her standing over you, Trash sitting down, you're looking almost directly up at her as those same thunder-filled and lightning-filled eyes look down at you, piercing blue, almost passing straight through you. But at the same time, you see a bit of loosening of this sort of reservation. She stares down at you. I don't seem to see a spine in this one, but I can still sense it. Perhaps you're not entirely worthless. Enrique, our next run is in 2 days' time. Have them meet me at the onset of the passage. At that point, she grabs her towel and wipes away any remaining sweat from her brow as she walks back through. And through this door now, you can kind of see on the other side is a sort of sparring ground, a sand-lined training ground, if you will, in this segment. And there's a number of sparring dummies, various wooden stades, and targets in this area. And you see, as she's walking through, she cracks her knuckles intensely, and without hesitation turns and drives her fist straight through a solid piece of oak equipment, as if she was driving a blade through a thin piece of butter, as it shatters and falls slowly. Don't waste my time. As then she grabs her heel and kicks the door shut.
I'm glad I didn't try and punch her.
Yes, so am I.
And you also notice during this whole process, Dazes, with your passive perception, you notice a bit of energy arcing off of her fist as it drove through this chunk of wood. As if some electrical current was driving through the target.
Interesting. Okay.
I apologize for Agnello. She's a bit intense, but she means well.
And ugly.
Each their own. But she's simply one person. And she takes pride in her work. And she's well respected among the individuals here in the Cirque. She's been working beside me for nearly a decade now. And up until recently, she had a spotless record as what we like to call a conductor. An individual who is charged with leading the individuals that we shepherd out of the city. Unfortunately, she encountered something abnormal along one of our main routes recently. And we lost a number of individuals along that route. As such, I'd like to send a slightly larger group this time to make sure these individuals are safe, as you'll be escorting a much younger crowd this time around. Individuals I am certain could not fend for themselves. So, I'm apt to take a bit more precaution this time around, despite Agnello's protestings. So, if you're interested, we plan this little excursion out of the city in approximately 2 days' time in the evening. So, do what you must with your contacts at the Magisterium, and after which I'd be happy to pay you for your troubles, or perhaps I can assist with further travel plans if that's what you're looking for. In fact, are you planning on staying in Mirstadt for a time, or is this just a intermediary stop along your main route?
That is a good question.
Intermediately? What's that?
Are you planning on staying in the city long, or are you going to travel elsewhere after
Well-
your dealings here in Mirstadt?
We really just have the one contact we have to meet up with, and then I guess it's up to the group. I don't really know what our plans are beyond that.
I do believe we had general plans to head out to the Feedy Dunes at some point, but there was no, we had no set time frame for that travel plan.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you assist me, I can put you in contact with one of my associates in the Jamila dynasty, one of the major cities there, or at least one of the major trade routes on the way to the heart of the dynasty's capital. I own a number of vessels that travel along the coast. It would certainly expedite and ease travel if that's your intended destination. And ultimately, this naval travel is one of the segments of the Sonnet's escape route, if you will. We have a chartered vessel that doesn't ask too many questions about what, or rather whom, they charter. But without this main route out of the city, that's all but useless.
Oh yes, that contact would be most helpful indeed.
Excellent. Well, think on it a bit further, and when you're finished, get in contact with Lucas here. And Enrique looks over at Lucas. You try to make yourself a bit easier to get in contact with.
Oh, Enrique, you ruin all the fun, but I understand. You all can find me at the Flocks.
Was the flats where we found them before?
Yeah, that was the smoker's den.
Okay.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll make myself available.
We would appreciate that.
Of course, of course. But anyway, it sounds like you all could use some time to rest and a bit to eat. Enrique, do you mind?
Of course. We have some temporary bunks available for you all if you would like to rest. And we can certainly make it so that you have a nice meal at least.
That would be appreciated.
That Enrique kind of claps his hands, and you notice a large platter that's over on one of the side tables begin to lift into the air and kind of float towards one of the adjacent doors. Not the one that Agnella had used, but on the opposing side of the room. Open, and that platter kind of sail through it.
Come along, darlings.
As Lucas kind of falls behind this floating platter.
Let me show you the way.
As they kind of guide you out. Do you follow?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Lucas guides you all out into another room. There's a number of tables and kind of there's This one's a bit less occupied, but there are individuals here that you kind of encountered and saw out in the main atrium location where the battle arena kind of took place. And you see some of these individuals sitting down to have a meal. People of all ages and all walks of life are in here. You see those same 3 children sitting on the far end having a meal. As you see more of these floating platters kind of moving around, some carrying empty trays and containers, some carrying fresh foods, fruits, things of that nature, salted meats and things like that, to various people in this small kind of cafeteria-like room.
Well, have a seat at anywhere you'd like. We'll see to it that one of the servants gets to you. There's not a whole lot of selection here, but we have the usual fare, if you will. It's kind of take it or leave it where we are here.
As they kind of direct you towards one of the empty tables. And a few minutes later, you see a tray of food just begin to float down and rest itself in between you guys. It's as a half a loaf of what looks like some sort of crusted bread, a bit of preserved meats, a bit of cheese, some dried fruits and things of that nature. Enough the 3 of you could have a decent enough meal for the evening.
Nice.
Is there anything you all would like to discuss further before Lucas escorts you to one of the other common areas within this atrium?
Nope, I just gorged myself with all the food I could fit into my stomach.
I can't think of anything.
Very well. After your meal, Lucas escorts you all to another atrium chamber, a separate sort of maintenance chamber for this kind of segmental, departmentalized storm system, and you notice there's a number of empty cots, things of that nature, spread about this room. Some of the cots on the far side are already occupied by individuals resting down for the evening. Various groups. Some of them are whole families. Others are individuals. And some are unsupervised children, ranging from 5 or 6 upwards of their mid-teens, of various species and everything from human children to, you see some half-orcs to the occasional small goblin girl and minotaur child and human boy that you all interacted with earlier, cornered up in one of the far ends together. And then you also see just quite the eclectic group of individuals, all of which there's sort of a reserved air of comfort in this room. That, again, this is not the ideal situation, but it's better than the alternative. This is kind of the general understanding and the vibe that you get here. At this point, would you all like to bunk down for the evening?
Let's rest it up.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, you all can take a long rest. Go ahead and you can activate that in your character sheets. Regain all your hit points, your spell slots, all that good stuff. As you take an evening's rest, reflecting upon the many events of the day, coming into Mirstadt as you awaken early. There's quite a clamor of the individuals kind of wrapping up their necessities for the day, some of which are preparing to go topside via the many undisclosed exits out of this location. And fairly early on, as you all are beginning to rise for the morning, Lucas comes to escort you out of the cirque.
All right, come along, darlings. We're going to take a different route than we did earlier, you know. Got to make sure that no one can follow us down here, if you will.
I follow.
All right. It takes about an hour to an hour and a half in this confusing route of passages and stairs and means through the various storm sewer connections and up through the aqueducts and the routes that some of these transportation vessels take along the canals below the city. But eventually you do come topside, and I'll go ahead and pull up the map for you all in Mirstadt. Rid of that. But you all, at this point, you remember last time you kind of entered up here in the northwestern portion of the map along one of the various canals, the larger canals in the city. And when you come topside here, Dazes, you recall that you are quite far on the opposite side of the city, almost nearing the main shipping hubs on the far eastern side, near a lot of these main canals and areas where some of the larger ships are transferring goods to smaller vessels meant to head up the river connections of the city and the various canal streets, cutting through the large 2- and 3-story buildings in this area. It's a bit disorienting, like how in the world did we get from this side of the city to the other? But Lucas kind of grins and looks at you all.
Well, I'm going to be on my way. I have a few things to see to this morning, but I wish you all the best. If you run into Winnie again, give him my regards. But I will see you all very, very soon, I'm sure. Bye-bye.
As they kind of skip off without too much warning in the opposite direction, heading north away from you all. At this point, what would you all like to do?
Has it been enough days have passed for us to go meet with Catherine?
From what you would understand, most of the time the way what you've seen with the way Catherine travels, she generally chooses to travel in the evenings. If it's a large excursion, so if you kind of understand that most likely she's probably not there now, but she would be in the evening.
So we've got some time to kill before.
Yes, it's fairly early in the morning. I would say probably 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Just after sunrise. You see, especially in this area where this is a heavy commerce area, there's already heavy traffic moving around here that, although there's a lot of people, it's an easy place to make oneself lost among the crowd. Hence why this exit was probably placed here.
I'd like to suggest to the group that we go shopping, if that's an option.
Speaking of shopping, well, I don't have a problem with that. I guess if we have time to kill.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
I guess we can split the 300 gold if we didn't already.
Yeah, I just assumed we did.
Yeah, I added 100 too.
Okay. So with your coin purses quite a bit fatter than when you arrived in the city between the prize money that you won at the Cirque, as well as your commission for delivery of the package to Enrique Sandes. You have a bit of gold to spend. And you remember, Dazes, on your previous travels here in the city of Meerstadt, that this area isn't necessarily where you are now, approximately here. It's not exactly an area of direct-to-consumer commerce. This is more of like an area of shipping and commercial movement of product and kind of wholesale, where people are buying like whole containers full of goods. But you know that if you move further west out of the city towards this center section just south of the main palace and castle, which is here in the center of the city on this risen portion of the city, that there are a number of shops, various apothecaries, things of that nature that are more direct-to-consumer goods meant for retail sale.
Yep, I can just direct the group in that direction.
Okay. As you all are heading through the city, I would ask somebody to roll me a d20, please.
I can do it.
Okay. 6. It's been a while since you have been here in the city, Dazes, so it's a bit confusing since the last time you've been here in Meerstadt. But, so it takes you a bit longer to get through this heavily cluttered and constantly moving segment of the city, off to the, more, consumer-oriented segment of the city where all the guild halls and the financial district is where a lot of these shops are located. So it takes you probably a couple hours, even longer than what it took you to get out of the Undercroft. You feel a bit annoyed at yourself that you almost got lost a few times getting to this segment of the city.
Been a while.
But what in particular are you all looking for?
I am looking for either something better than my club, or perhaps some kind of armor.
Okay. And Trash and Dazes, are you looking for anything in particular?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll look at some potions.
Okay.
Maybe either nicer, like nicer weapon or nicer armor or something.
Okay. So it sounds... I'm sorry, go ahead.
How specific can I be here?
As specific as you want to be. Is there something like a particular type of potion besides just healing potions, or is there like a more of an arcane potion that you're looking for, or is there something specific you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe like I don't know, like a potion of I guess for me it'd be like a potion of dexterity or something like that, or potion of not strength necessarily, but a potion of I don't know. We'll see what they have, I guess.
Okay. As you enter this segment of the city, it's pretty easy to find a number of shops and things of that nature. On the southeastern corner, you see some of the larger buildings that contain forges. There's not a lot of blacksmiths specifically in this area, but those that are here tailor to the higher end of the spectrum as far as implements and things of that nature. So you see hanging in some of the storefronts exquisite looking battle axes and long swords, short swords, things of that nature. As this particular area, this retail location, is kind of close in proximity to some of the upper echelons of the city, some of the major guild halls, so they kind of cater to that crowd that not necessarily would actually use these implements, but those that they do carry or those that they intend to purchase for, they want their entourage to be well equipped. As you notice, the guards in this particular area, unlike those you saw at some of the main entrance, their armors are far more intricate. Most of them are wearing either half plate or full plate armor, and it is a full degree higher quality than what you would see from some of the other that you saw from some of the other guards on the opposite end of the city. There's definitely a big gap in economic means in this part of the city. But Dazes, since you were looking for something rather specific, go ahead and give me a perception check.
Okay.
The 19. You notice there's a small shop. It's an open air shop, but you notice hanging all around are large nets, and on those nets are tied various potions to display to the world, as well as kind of 45-degree turned cases full of various potions from regular, superior, or greater and superior healing potions. And you see a number of various potions and various apothecary ingredients and things of that nature. It is a well-stocked shop, and it's you see a large large I wouldn't even say that you look at him initially and you seem to think that he is of orcish descent, but as you get closer you realize he is even larger than this, and that he almost seems to be of have like an ogreish appearance, like he is much larger. He's even taller than you, Floof. As he kind of moves around, his hands, like the forearms themselves, are as big as most people's legs, and he's quite portly. But he seems to have a very friendly exterior as you approach.
Hi, what can I do for you? Welcome, welcome.
Oh, yes, sir. Just looking to see what you have in stock.
Well, that depends what you're looking for.
Looking to see if you have something that can make me a bit more powerful in battle. At least temporarily.
Are you looking to be stronger, faster, jump higher, hit harder, pump your enemies full of fire, poisons? What's your flavor of the week?
Say maybe either faster or hit harder, I suppose.
Right. Well, I think I've got what you might need.
And he pulls out this kind of six-sided looking vial, and the cork top has these thinly golden gilded wings on the top of it, and it's swirling around. It's kind of this whitish, silverish liquid inside.
This right here, my friend, is a potion of haste. It'll make you quite a bit faster for a short while. I will say, though, after it wears off, you're going to feel a bit lethargic. But for the time being, you're going to move like greased lightning.
I'm very interested. How much?
This right here, 300 gold.
300. I'm gonna try to haggle him down.
Okay.
How about 250?
Go ahead and give me a persuasion check.
Okay. Oops.
Can't say I can do any deals, my friend. This is not one that you often come by.
That's understood. Yeah.
You know, your common folk usually are more partial to healing and things of that nature, but this is quite a unique item.
All right. 300 gold then.
Okay, you can add a potion of haste. I think it's under potion of haste.
Yeah, I guess I gotta find it.
Should be if you go under inventory and let's see. Maybe it's potion of speed. Hold on. Yeah, potion of speed is what you're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it basically gives you the effect of the haste spell for 1 minute.
Okay.
Without means of, you don't have to concentrate on it though. But afterwards, you believe, yeah, no concentration required. But you do succumb to like a lethargic state after which, or if you go down for a number of turns, it has the same effects and of the haste spell.
I forget where you go to like add items.
So if you go to under inventory and in your character sheet and hit manage inventory,
Manage. Okay. Gotcha.
and then there should be a search under filter, and you can just type in speed and it'll find it.
Got it. Thank you.
Anything for you all?
As he kind of reaches out and kind of to kind of give this welcoming vibe to you, Floof and Trash.
Can I get you anything?
I just shake my head.
Sorry, you said this shop also had like weapons and armor, or just predominantly potions?
This is just an apothecary.
Okay.
Yeah, you see that he's got a variety of the most typical healing draughts and various common and uncommon potions in his little repertoire. But
Okay.
yeah, he doesn't have anything as far as like a smithy would.
I think we did okay for healing potions, right?
Yeah, I mean I have 3 alone. I think.
Okay. All right.
Although
Yeah,
one
I
of them
think.
is homebrew might give me some fur.
Yeah, mine's homebrew too, so who knows?
Okay, so yeah, I think I'm all right.
Okay.
If you need anything else in the future, you come by. My name's Rackshed. Come on and, bring me all your business. I'm here to serve.
Only if I get a deal next time.
I'll see to it. Always like return customers.
Nice.
And he bags up your potion and hands it over to you. So yeah, add that to your inventory. For you, Trash and Floof, there are 2 smithies on the south side of this kind of crescent-shaped courtyard here, below some of the larger guild halls and towers. And you hear the clank of metal and people moving large racks, setting up for the morning, if they haven't already set up. And you see everything from spears and shields and various armors and leathers and things of that nature, a wide variety of different weapons, axes, swords, bows, and things of that nature. Is there something specific you're looking for?
I want an axe.
Okay.
So maybe I could look around and see if I see any nice shiny sharp axes around.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe like a nice new crossbow for myself.
Okay. Let's see here. Are you a proficient in axes, Floof?
Oh, good question.
You might want to double
no.
check that. Yeah.
I know I'm not.
So yeah, I don't think
just
you.
kidding.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be proficient in axes. I don't think druids are proficient in any type of metal weapons.
No. So maybe a spear or javelin then.
Okay. Yeah, you can check under your character sheet under weapons and armor. It'll tell you what you're proficient with.
Yeah, spears and javelins are both there.
Okay.
Maybe a shillelagh.
A shillelagh?
Well, shillelagh is a
You
a
made that word
cantrip.
up.
No, it's actually a cantrip.
Oh, never mind. Dang.
No, it's it can be used with any type of short or quarter staff.
That's what it was.
Yeah, Floof, you are proficient with spears, slings, sickles, scimitars, quarterstaffs, maces, javelins, darts, daggers, and clubs.
Okay. Yeah, I like let me think. A spear and a what's the technical difference between a spear and a javelin? In my head, I'm picturing the same thing.
A javelin has the thrown property, so you can throw it like a distance weapon. A spear does not generally. I think that's the major mechanical difference. Is the
okay, but do I still have the option to use a javelin? Like,
yeah, I think they have the same sort of. Let me look real quick. Yeah, javelin is 1d6 piercing, and has the thrown property. A spear, I believe that's the major difference, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Spear. Oh, I'm sorry. Spear has main difference between a spear and a javelin. They both have the thrown property, but the spear can be used with two hands. That's what the versatile property means. So if you used it with two hands, it would go from a D6 to a D8 hit dice. And then
carry a shield, so maybe a spear would be better.
Yeah, it'd be your club. I think is already your club is a 1d4. So
yeah, let's go spear.
Okay.
Let me look around for a spear.
All right. You look around and you see a number of racks full of various spears. Some nicer than others. Some filigreed with fine inlays. Others you notice are made for more of a thrown implementation. Others are just designed for the typical, short range combat and kind of a means of keeping one's opponent away from them. But as you're kind of perusing the wares of one of these smithies, a thinner young man steps up to you. He's of half elvish descent. He kind of looks at you. Can I help you, sir? And you can see the kind of enthusiasm. He's looks very wet behind the ears, but you sense this enthusiasm as he approaches you to try to make a sale.
Okay, is Dazes, are you still around? Are you still hanging around us, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Alright, I'm gonna be like, Dazes, help me shop. I get mad.
Well, judging by my previous interaction, I don't think I'll be able to save you any money, but I can give it a shot.
Okay. I want spear.
Okay, we've got a number of different ones. Is there a particular price range you're looking for, or a particular craftsman? We have a variety from ones made here, right here in Mirstadt, and we have some that are imported from the Jamila dynasty, as well as some of the finer dwarven spears. But those they come in with a bigger, higher price tag, as they're quite lovely.
Smoke appears to be emanating from my ears because I'm so confused. But and I kind of glance over at Dazes and just like a good, strong spear.
Do you think you have something that's sturdy and maybe more so made out of natural wood?
Well, I think we can do something.
And he kind of rummages through, and you can kind of sense there's a strong sense to make a sale and impress his superiors. And you see there he's kind of frantically looking among the various inventory, but he does come across one in particular that he kind of pulls from the rack and raises up horizontally for you to inspect.
This was made by a local craftsman that unfortunately has since passed away, but this is one of his last works, and it's quite a fine spear indeed. It's well maintained. It has a number of grooves to maintain grip in difficult situations. And then the end is got this serrated texture, so it allows to be driven in further, as well as be removed with relative ease.
How much?
This one in particular is about 200 gold.
I pull out my coin bag. I see that I have 367 gold, and I hand him the whole bag.
I'm gonna
You can stop him.
interject. And
You saw the initial excitement in his face, as if he just made the sale of his life, but then notices like that might have been a mistake.
I'm going to, along with Floof, I'm gonna like kind of count it out, and maybe sort of like show Floof like, you know, here's how, I don't know how money works.
Oh. All right, and it takes me 5 whole minutes, but I managed to, with Dazes's help, figure out how to count to 200 gold. And
I imagine that this is like trying to teach a small child how to count or multiply for the first time. Like, see, groups of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you do that 10 more times, and that gives you 50.
Exactly.
But eventually you do come to the agreed upon 200 gold.
Excellent. Do you want this gift wrapped, or you just want to take it as it is?
I just grab it.
Okay. Sure thing. Can I do anything for you all?
As he looks to you, Dazes, and Trash. Floof, you can add a +1 spear to your inventory.
Okay.
So if you just type in spear, there's an option for a +1.
Okay, I see it. Add to equipment. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, and then you need to, on your inventory, make sure you equipped it, so it shows up in your ability to use as an attacking weapon.
Okay. I'm just gonna drop my club on the ground. Like I don't need it anymore.
Do you want us to get rid of that for you?
I'm already walking away.
Okay.
And you see he kind of goes to pick this thing up, and it is...
I'm gonna grab it.
Okay. He goes to pick it up, and it's quite heavy. This is a very scrawny kid.
Yeah. Well, since Floof walked away, I guess I can turn to Trash and be like, should we keep this for him, or?
I guess I guess I could put it in the bag of holding.
I suppose.
I don't know.
Floof, you can remove your club from your inventory, and if you want to add it to the bag of holding, you guys can. You can add a club.
Just in case.
Okay, I'll do.
Right. And then, Trash, was there anything you were looking for? You said you might be looking for another crossbow, or...
Yeah, maybe another crossbow.
Okay.
Would be nice.
Right. This same young man, having just made a sale, looks at you and goes,
Oh, you're looking for something with a bit more range than a spear, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not as great with the metal implements, but I love me a good bow and a good spear. I'm much more, much better with wood implements, so I can definitely point you in the right direction.
you see a much stronger sense of confidence as he shows you to a rack where there's a number of different crossbows, hand crossbows. So you have light, heavy, and of course hand crossbows that are all kind of spread in this sort of implementation. And then you see a variety of price ranges. And then just one moment, I'm trying to find something specific here. And then of course, crossbow bolts, things of that nature. And same as sort of the spears, and the other weapons that are on the rack at the front of this smithy, you notice that there's kind of a variance of price ranges. You see, like your basic run-of-the-mill, see in every single town type, implements that are barely finished or basically just a hunk of wood with some mechanical bits strapped to it, all the way up to like finely crafted, dwarven made things from the Dominium, and then everything in between that are local, as well as a handful from the Empire, as well as the Dynasty to the far eastern corner of the continent. So there's quite a variety here. As this young man kind of points you out to the various differences between them, as well as the various needs of these weapons. I would say with your understanding of Arcana as well as various mechanical implements, go ahead and give me an investigation check.
Not the best. That was investigation 9 + 3, so 12.
12. You notice among these various weapons, there's one in particular among kind of the middle range, kind of towards off to one side, and it's not the finest of make, but it definitely has a bit more work done to it. And you notice on one of the ends of the butt end of the crossbow that it has an inlaid green jewel to it. And he sees you eyeing this particular crossbow, and he you see this wide smile begin to come up as he sees you eyeing this particular one out of all the other ones. And I don't mean to brag, but I made that one. And he pulls it down from the rack to let you inspect it directly. I'm not a master craftsman, but I did spend quite a bit of time on this one, and this inlay here was a gemstone that was given to me by a traveling salesman, and when it's wielded and properly matched with its owner, it can help warn you of oncoming danger.
And is that kind of the sense that I get from it, that I can detect some sort of...
Yeah, give me an Arcana check as you hold on to this and your hand passes over that gemstone.
9 again, plus Arcana is... Yeah, 12.
12. Again, you can't quite understand entirely. You sense this arcane nature, though, coming off of this gemstone that's inlaid in the butt end of this crossbow. That there's a bit more to this weapon.
Okay. May I inquire as to how much this is?
Well, since you did buy the spear, and I'll give it to you I'll give it to you at a deal, but I do need to recoup my time on it. Tell you what, I'll give it to you for 450.
Oh dear. What was your name again?
My name? It's Carl.
Well, Carl. I know some people. I know some people in the magistrate, and I could put in a really good word for you. And I could really get your name out there. I travel a lot, meet with a lot of contacts of high import. And I really, really want to get this off of you. I can give you... I could even do like 360.
Go ahead and give me a persuasion check.
Please roll nicely. No! Damn it! It was a 2. Plus my persuasion is only 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really want to get my name out there, but if I undersold this, my boss would have my hide. I can't do it, unfortunately.
I overhear this, and I've been just examining my spear this whole time, just because I love it so much. But I put it on the ground, and I hear that she needs some more money, so I've very meticulously and slowly put my little coin bag on the ground and start counting, and ask how much you need.
Well, I have 3, 4. I have 400. I'm short 50.
We could each give you 25.
Well, I could consider it like a loan. I'd pay both of you back. I'd like to, keep things equal among us.
I count out 25. I look, I'm looking up and I'm counting in this air and stuff, but I hand you 30.
You see Floof over here counting with each individual finger, and then at one point when he runs out of fingers, you see him start counting on his toes.
I guess, I assume I see the 30, and I'm like, oh boy, okay. And I'll try to correct the math where it went wrong.
I removed 5, and but I look visibly confused, even though I got there.
It'll take time.
we'll say after about 5 or so minutes of back and forth counting, and we have this kind of song and dance again of no, you have to go. It's 5 here, 5 here makes 10, and it's this back and forth of general arithmetic till you reach the total 50. How you guys want to break it up, that's fine, but if you want to spot trash the remainder in order to buy this weapon.
Yeah, I'll remove 25 from my inventory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with your combined funds, you are able to come to the 450 agreed upon price, and you see this wide-eyed excitement as the young man Carl hands you the crossbow, and in Trash, you inspect it further and look it over one last time as the exchange is made. You can go ahead and add the light crossbow of warning to your inventory.
So, warning.
Yes.
Yay.
So this is an attunement, I believe, an attunement item.
Okay.
Check here. I believe it is. Let's see. Yes, it is an attunement item. But it basically gives you a advantage on your initiative rolls, and you can no longer be surprised as long as you are not incapacitated. Other than non-magical sleep. So you would have to be incapacitated by some sort of magical sleep or some sort of spell. Otherwise, this weapon... well, let me explain it in story. Carl, in an attempt to kind of reassure you all, he stepped forth and... see, this is the key of this weapon right here. And he grabs... he grabs a kind of a beaten up, damaged dagger off the table. See, I'm not going to hurt you, anybody. This is just a demonstration, but let me show you. And he kind of walks off to your side, and right as he's beginning to turn, as if he's going to make a strike on you, Trash, you feel this crossbow begin to shake on your back, like almost like a controller would handle, and it vibrates wildly on your back as you sense and instinctively begin to turn as this weapon shakes, and he kind of passes the other way with the dagger and then stops. See? Well, I figured with somebody who's gonna be using this for range and for hunting, that they would want to know something was sneaking up on them.
It is kind of cool.
I'm just looking at it and I'm just like so happy because it's like the first piece that I bought instead of something that I pieced together out of, garbage and scrap. So I'm just so in awe of it.
Right. This also is classified as a magic weapon, so for any purposes of foregoing magic resistance, this will function in that regard as well. So,
Cool.
but yeah, is there anything else you all are looking for?
I'm good. I like my little staff. Or spear.
Good.
Okay. Well, with your purchases made, you all, is there anything specific you'd like to do? It is about, I would say, early afternoon at this point, after your various purchases and your perusal of the shops and financial district in this area. Is there something else you are looking for or looking to do, or do you want to try to wait until this evening to potentially speak with or to make your appointment at the magistrate?
I can't think of anything else to do really.
Yeah, my pretty much other than my my new spear, I pretty much only want to go to the Magisterium and figure out what's going on with this leather and stuff.
Okay.
I guess we can head over early.
Well, with that, you all head. It's not hard to find this particular building. Most of the locations of the Magisterium Arcanum are large spires and towers, not unlike the one that you saw in Tierhelm. It is usually a building made of marble and or onyx stone. It is usually ground smooth by magical means, and it stands out among any of the architecture in the area as uniquely almost alien to some of the other architectures in the area. It is very clear, and it's meant to be kind of an outlier to some of the buildings, so it is easy to locate among major cities. In this particular area, the Magistrate Tower is in the southwest corner of the city. It is this large red-topped building on the far end of the city. It doesn't have a red roof. It's just a spire. And as you approach it, you notice that the building itself, not unlike the architecture of the one that you all visited, the library in Tierhelm, this building seems to... Although as you approached from a distance, it looked like perfectly straight, like a spire stretching up into the skyline of the city. As you begin to approach, you notice this building almost looks like it's being twisted, like a piece of wrought iron. And the more you look at it, again, just like the building in Tierhelm that seemed to be sitting uncentered and not plumb with the ground, this one seems to twist along the horizontal axis, as if somebody was heating it up at its center and spinning it like a corkscrew motion. But every time you look at it, it varies. What would you all like to do?
Go in. Can we go
Yeah.
in?
Shall we?
Okay. You all approach the building, and I don't have artwork for this particular location, but you approach the building. It is, like I said, a mixture of marble and onyx stone, ground smooth along the outside, and that effect of that kind of twisting begins to lessen a bit as you're directly in front of the building. And it has a number of conjoining buildings that are much shorter, but the main tower that stretches up goes up almost 240 feet into the air. Has various levels. You see a small handful of windows at the top, but for the most part, the building itself has almost no exterior facade penetrations like doors or windows or balconies. It is almost a perfect spire stretching up, almost like an alien obelisk stretching out from the ground in this otherwise very wooden architecture around it that at most is 2 or 3 stories tall of some of these townhomes and businesses. But this thing sticks up like a sore thumb, almost as high as the main palace in the center of Mirstadt. And as you enter, you notice that the door almost looks like it's a part of the wall. It is, as it closes behind some of the individuals entering, it swings inward, but as it closes behind them, it almost looks like the door itself vanishes among the wall. Like the joint that you would otherwise see in a door, even the best of craftsmanship that would make that door very flush, like a cabinet door, it almost seems to seal itself into a perfectly smooth wall until somebody begins to approach and pushes against it. And you see this door kind of swing open, and this stone door should otherwise be so heavy that it would otherwise be impossible for a person to push open under their own strength. Even a strong individual like you, Floof, it opens with relative ease and smoothness and precision of master craftsmanship. And as you enter, the floor itself is polished stone, very different from the more nature-oriented library that you entered in Tierhelm. This one is very sterile and finely polished. Any wood that's in here for the desks or various tables that you see around is all polished smooth to almost a mirror sheen. And you see all along the outer walls here, and this is the most distinct feature of this tower. As you look out and where you expect to see walls, other than the main bookcases and various levels that seem to tier up all the way around and wrap the interior of this spire, you notice it's almost like you can, it's obscured, but it's almost like you can see through to the outside, like this stone wall is translucent from this side. It is quite a marvelous feat of both craftsmanship and arcane ability that put this whole tower together. As you look out, you can see the surrounding city outside, but you were unable to see anything inside the tower as you approached, as all you saw were sheer walls of marble and onyx. At this point, the day is growing long, and it is drifting into the evening as you see a lot of the torches begin to along the various corridors and things like that, just magically come to life along the various corridors as light is needed. Almost like a ye olde proximity sensor. And at this point, you see various individuals clad in robes. You see those same sort of emblems of various degrees on various bits of clothing, jewelry, all symbolizing that 8-pointed compass-like star, the symbol of Mystra, the goddess of magic. And the symbol of the Magisterium Arcanum. But to the right, you see this large, ornate, crescent-like desk with a polished wood top that's got a live edge to the only sort of non-sterile organic surface. But as you approach, you notice this live edge of this reception top again has that sort of movement to it. From a distance and various angles, it doesn't match as you move around it. And it's almost a bit disorienting at first, but it has this unique charm to it. As you can approach, there's a nicely dressed individual clad in navy blue robes with the symbol of the Magisterium Arcanum on their left breast. This is a half-elven man. He has his hair is slicked back and finely tied into a ponytail that has various cords going down, and the ponytail extends all the way down to almost above his tailbone. It's quite a long hair statement, and the sides of his hair are shaved taut to the edge of his head. His sharpened elven lineage ears sticking up on either side more prominently by the lack of hair around it. And he's staring through a number of spectacles at a floating scroll in front of him as he makes notes on a scroll laid on the desk. What would you all like to do?
He's at like the front desk?
Yeah, what looks like a main reception desk.
I mean, I'm totally out of place here and just kind of waiting for these guys to do something, and I'll follow them.
Yeah, maybe we'll walk up to the desk.
Yeah.
As you approach, the half-elven man looks you all up and down. Can I help you?
Yes, we're here to make an appointment.
An appointment with who?
Where's her name? Catherine?
Catherine of, don't know anyone particularly named Catherine. Is there a particular title?
Catherine is it I'm trying to remember her last name. It's like Aaron something. I used to know it.
Let's see.
I don't know why I'm
Believe I gave
blanking
it
on
to you.
it, but yeah, trying to. Alan Lead? Am I?
Oh,
pronounced?
as you begin to say the word, he corrects you.
Oh, Ailenlead. Catherine Ailenlead. Lady Catherine Ailenlead? Is that who you were looking for?
Yes.
Ah, I see. Or are you a student of hers? I didn't believe she took on any trainees.
Our relationship is one of that of a mentor and I guess mentee in a way, yes.
Fascinating. By the way, she hasn't quite arrived yet. She is due to arrive here in the next hour or two, but we can have you wait for her in the waiting room just off the way there. If you head down this main hall, there are 2 large oak doors. You'll take the second of the 2.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
He goes back to working, feverishly on writing down what he was looking at on this scroll.
Can I try to sneak a peek?
Sure, go ahead and, are you trying to do this covertly?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and give me a stealth check. $25. You kind of lean back as you're walking away, and you see he's very, very focused on writing down a number of names from a text spread across the table. It is a... it seems to be a list of individuals coming and going, almost like a sign-in registry that you would have like at a hotel or like a wedding. But it is hundreds, if not thousands, of names long, dating back multiple years, as he seems to be trying to just organize the names into various segments. You see most of the categories are by location, where some are coming from the Magnolia, others are coming from somewhere in the Dynasty region. You see others coming from the various parts of the Landscale Alliance, and you see a handful that he's got on a separate piece of paper coming from the Dwarven Dominions. And with a 25, you would notice he's specifically got a different color text for a name of... Just a moment here. A name under that Dwarven segment from the Dominion, a name of Darius Oberson. That is filigreed in a much finer color, like almost like a golden ink.
Darius.
Yeah, Darius or Darius, Darius Oberson, Oberson. And that's what you are able to gleam. You just notice that with that brief second, you kind of see the categorization of the names that he's pulling off this registry. The one that jumps out at you is that gold filigreed name under the segment that states Dwarven Dominion. At this point, what would you all like to do? You have a bit of time to kill as you approach the back of the tower. And you notice here as well, just like you noticed in the libraries in Tierhelm, this building seems larger than it volumetrically should based on the footprint you saw from the exterior. And it seems to go back quite a bit further than it should. But still, you notice all along that it still appears like the outside, like this total. If you've ever been in a building that has a lot of storefront or curtain wall exterior, like large segments of glass that go up multiple stories, that's kind of what this feels like. Or if you've ever been inside of a greenhouse where all the walls are glass and the ceiling, that's what this kind of feels like. Like there's a bit of obfuscation of the exterior looking on the outside. It's almost like a two-way mirror, but made of stone.
Interesting.
I turn to Trash and say, wait, is it Catherine in pocket?
Sort of. But you'll see the real Catherine.
Real?
The rock Catherine is like a part of her, and I can take that part with me, but the real Catherine has a body, and just like you and me, and we'll need to travel here, so she'll be here soon.
I look confused.
You all head to the waiting rooms, where you find there that there are a number of books and scrolls, various maps framed up on the walls of the surrounding areas, as well as there's a small halfling woman brings you all some water, as well as some small snack items as you wait in this particular room. But it is about 2 hours before outside you hear this slow but steady crackle. And as you had passed to get to this waiting room, you had noticed, Trash, you in particular would have noticed that there was a raised platform, a circular raised platform in that particular main atrium area, just off the reception location, that had what looked like arcane carvings in the stone of the floor. And from the outside, you can hear this this crackling of energy, almost like sparks, if you've ever heard something short circuit. And then you hear this as you see a soft light begin to appear from underneath the door. And you kind of recognize this, Trash. You've seen this before as a sort of a form of teleportation magic. As shortly after that sound subsides and the light dissipates from beneath the door, you hear a number of voices, one of which is very familiar to you. The calming voice of your friend and mentor, Catherine, from outside.
Yes, sir. I'll be there shortly. Please
please don't stay too long this time. As you hear her talking to someone outside before being addressed by that same individual at the reception desk. Oh, Lady Catherine, you have visitors in the second waiting room. Thank you. I appreciate it, Gerald. And shortly after that exchange, you hear the door handle begin to turn as a beautiful young half-elven woman walks through the doors. And we'll go ahead and pull that up for you all and add that to everyone's journals besides, not just besides Trash's. Right, so let's see. All right. Then you all see this dark-haired, half-elven woman wearing white robes with blue shoulders on the outside, a similarly colored spell book bound to her hip, and crested over her shoulders and hanging down just above her chest, that same sort of symbol of Mistra hanging as a pendant across her chest, wearing finely made black leather boots, and she turns to you all, specifically you, Trash, and says, "Oh, it's wonderful to see you again. How have you been?"
I've been well, Catherine. How have you been?
Busy. Quite busy. But enough of that. Why don't we head to my temporary office here and we can discuss further. And she escorts you all. She also has a belt of various arcane tools wrapped around that you've seen before, Trash, that she carries when she's on assignment elsewhere. And she has a number of vials of various liquids and potions and things for immediate and emergency use, as well as some arcane items she would need for casting purposes. It's good to see you all made it here. I was not going to lie, I was a bit worried that you had gotten in over your head, Trash. Out in Tierhelm, I had heard some rather nasty rumors, but I'm ecstatic to see that you're well.
Oh, not gonna lie, we did get into some hairy situations, but with my companions here, and gonna introduce Floof and Dazes, we've made out okay. So.
Before we go any further, guys, I do need to use the restroom here, so why don't we go ahead and use this opportunity as you all are heading into offices, because I'm assuming this is going to be a longer conversation. Let's go ahead and take a quick bathroom and bio break. When we left off at the break, you all had arrived at the Tower of the Magisterium Arcanum, the branch here in Mirstadt, and waited a bit after. Whoa, the hell? What? Oh, sorry. For some reason, Windows 11 has a sleep mode that I can't figure out for the life of me to disable. Like, my monitor just will go blank when I'm doing stuff like this. I'm not moving it regularly.
Oops.
Anyway, through the magic of Windows 11. But you all arrived at the tower, and after a swift discussion with the receptionist, one Gerald, a half-elf man, he asked you to wait in one of the various waiting rooms. After about 2 hours, you notice the arcane crackling of the adjacent circle just outside the doors as a number of individuals arrived in the tower, one of which, a familiar female voice, trails off from outside the door. Catherine Aylin Lead, one of the higher end mages within the Magisterium Arcanum, and Trash's friend and mentor, who arrives to greet you all after being told that she had guests. And after swift greetings, she escorts you all to one of the various temporary offices that she uses here in this location. It's a rather cramped, and it's very utilitarian when you arrive in this office. Not quite as chaotic as the one you experienced in Keeper Odic's offices, but definitely one that's there for temporary use only, as if there's not much personality in here to the individual. But Catherine sits down and begins brewing some tea for you all before sitting down on one of the pair of lounge chairs there in the office and looking at you all.
My name is Catherine. I'm a member here at the magistrate, and to whom am I speaking?
As she looks to you, Dazes, and you, Floof.
I say, I'm Floof. We met.
I don't believe we've met before.
I'm just gonna take out the sending stone and be like, it's complicated.
Ah, okay. Well, it's wonderful to meet you again, Floof, in a more formal capacity. And you are?
She looks to you, Dazes.
I am Dazes. Pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you as well. We're, my apologies to be a bit, forward, but, I'm very concerned about the various things that have occurred across this segment of the continent in the past few weeks, particularly the creatures that you all have been encountering, having these strange arcane... I don't even know how to describe it. I've never seen anything like it. But, from what Keeper Otik sent to me in a message recently, he stated that the remains of the creature that you all found in just outside of Helm had traces of lunarium in it.
Yes.
Do you have the remains of the more recent one that you encountered on the way to this city?
Yep. I can hand it to her.
She observes the vial, and unlike Keeper Odik, who set up a ritual casting to investigate this further, she holds the vial in the palm of her hand, and you see this arcane sigil form a circle around it almost instantaneously as her eyes go white and begin to emanate a soft light as she examines this vial and its contents. And you see a similar result to what you saw in Keeper Odik's his office, as it begins to boil and bubble in the vial, almost to the point where the glass looks like it's about to shatter. But this time she raises her other hand on the vial, and almost like in a separation motion, you see the various fluids inside the vial begin to separate into various layers. And you see this congealed, blackened blood sink to the bottom, and above that you see the faint bluish glow of this liquid lunarium for just a few seconds before you hear this sound, almost like the sound of sheets of ice as this blue fluid begins to harden and crystallize just above the layer of dried blood on the bottom of the vial. and begin to crystallize, not unlike the shape and form of the crystal that you saw on the encased in glass on the staff that Enrique Sandes had. But this liquid is far more viscous, and you can feel this, Floof, and you can feel this, Trash, with your arcane connection to the world, that this is not as refined as the material that you saw. This is like, again, finding a rough diamond in the dirt. And it has a more chaotic sense to it, as this material is separated from the blood it came from. Oh dear. This is... I've never seen anything like this before. I can't tell whether this was added to the creature or... It's so strange. It's almost like this was already here. Like the energies, the sustaining energies of this in the blood in the remains here were concentrated by something. Like they were... Like something drew them out. Like the very life force that gave this creature its sentience was drawn out into this liquefied magical essence. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. What was your experience in experiencing this creature? What was going on when you found it?
I recall it looking like it was in pain, and we wanted to help it end its suffering because it wasn't right.
Yes, I believe, if I remember properly, it was actively, if I remember, it was like ramming itself, like its head into a.
It was harming itself.
Yes.
It is quite concerning.
I'll chime in and say, like you. It's too many words to do in Floof voice, but I want to explain that, like, I had the kind of mind connection with it for a bit, and just sense that it was lost and just became like a savage beast.
Lost control. It's to be understand. It's a creature that's not used to this concentration. It wasn't in its right mind. But I would imagine with this kind of concentration, this misbalance of energies in the creature, that it would have driven it mad. Trash, do you recall in our studies how I explained how a spellcrafter draws the power, the various means that not every spellcaster finds the powers from the same source, but all have a subtle connection to the outer world and I would say all creatures in general have some level of arcane connection, whether they realize it or not. But as I'm sure you've seen, not every spellcaster is the same. Some draw upon the energies of the natural world. Some are innately gifted with a heightened sense and draw upon the powers from oneself, while others seek a more symbiotic relationship with an arcane being of some sort to draw power and control over the world, whether that being be divine or otherwise. But this, I've never seen anything like this before. It's like that the very nature, the very core of this being was changed by something. Something it wasn't prepared to do. I can't say I've ever seen something like this before.
So this may indicate that something or someone had I done something to this creature, and
Yes, something was certainly unnaturally changed about this creature, but there was no signs of addition to this creature's blood. With its remains, there was nothing added. But something fundamentally changed this creature. At this point, she kind of steps up, and you see her kind of spread her hands up over her face and her head in as if she's unfurling an invisible map, and you begin to see. Oh, excuse me, as I burp. You see this image begin to unfurl like a almost translucent image as she casts minor illusion and expands it to much larger than you've typically seen it, Trash, but begins to show you this movement, almost this trailing movement, almost like a fine tapestry that she passes her fingertips through. And you see this very defined structure to it. I've shown you this before. That magic, like a tapestry, weaves itself in and out of our world, moving like threads in all different directions. And as you manipulate these threads is how the magic itself is manifest at its fundamental level. And that whether one can use magic and manipulate this weave, regardless, everything is connected to it in some way. It's like someone fundamentally changed the very magic within this creature. The weave that interlaced within it from its birth was changed. Like it was condensed. And she kind of shows in this method, and you see these arcane threads, these ghostly weaves kind of that were otherwise loosely tied together, like somebody had slip their fingers in between each other, you see these weaves tighten and tighten and tighten and tighten to the point where they begin to shake and crystallize and then shatter like glass as the image vanishes in front of you. It's not an entirely accurate demonstration of what I believe occurred, but it's the easiest way I can explain it. Something changed this creature on a fundamental arcane level. Someone or something.
At this point, I can't help myself, and I have to pull out the leather, and I ask, "Can you check this?"
She takes the scrap of leather, and again, you see this process. This arcane sigil form like a circular disc around the piece of leather, and you see that spot of blood in the same way begin to glow at the surface of the leather. And just like before, she presses her palm of her hand down on top of it and begins to separate it slowly. And you see it is quite old, and at this point, it's almost like somebody pulling a vacuum in real time across the surface of this leather. And you see that that stain begin to be drawn out, almost like the vacuum is pulling what remains of that material off the leather scrap, and it begins to separate into its various components like a makeshift centrifuge, and you see the dusty blackened blood fall to the bottom of her palm like dust, and then again you see this infinitesimal grain of rice like crystal begin to form again, just like the remains that you had in the jar. This tiny speck of crystallized blue material falls down on top of the leather as the stain vanishes, and the various components of this that were stained into this material for all this time were separated into their various parts and pieces. And she doesn't touch it directly. She grabs a handkerchief out of her pocket and grabs the little rice-like granule of crystallized lunarium.
Okay. So my piece of leather, it wouldn't have that on it anymore. It's basically
It's just a piece of leather at this point. You don't see any signs of the blood.
Okay. Well, I pick up the leather, and I'm kind of sad that it's different. I've had it so long. It's been the keepsake, and then kind of my motivation. And then I'll ask if Catherine knows who could have done this.
Change. To alter the weave at this fundamental level would require an obscenely powerful individual or phenomenon far beyond anything that I've ever seen.
Manam?
A once-in-a-lifetime occurrence, if that. And yet we've seen it now multiple times. I was always told that when one looks for... when one is looking to find a problem, solve a problem, they should look for a pattern. One occurrence does not a pattern make, but this is far beyond that. something is actively changing the flora and fauna in our very world, perhaps. The only place I know of that actively works in this mineral, that harvests Lunarium, that might have a better understanding of what is going on, where large quantities of this mineral is harvested, if you will, is in the Jamila dynasty.
Feedy Dunes.
Exactly, precisely. It's a well-guarded secret. Even high-ranking members of the Magisterium are not privy to where this mineral comes from. All we know is that it is extremely dense with arcane energy. As far as I've ever known, it's harvested from the earth, from deep below the sands of the dunes. We were told that it was simply a mineral, that it was naturally occurring, but we've now seen that it can occur elsewhere, and even more so that something's causing it to occur inside living creatures. I wish I could share more, but I need more time to understand this.
I look over to them and say, and like, we go to dunes.
Catherine kind of cuts you off at that point. I would not venture into that desert, not without proper guidance. It is an extremely dangerous place.
You guide us.
I would not have the expertise to do so.
Then who?
You'd need to find a guide and permission from the Jamila dynasty, someone of high rank. Generally, it's a well-guarded secret where this mineral is extracted. I can chase down individuals here within the Magisterium. But those who deal directly with our import of Lunarium are some of the highest ranking members of the Magisterium. I dare say it would even require direct discussion with the head of our order.
Please help me.
Of course. I do have a contact in the dynasty. They're one of the offshoot families of the ruling family of the Jamila dynasty. But they do have quite a bit of say in that, in one of the smaller cities outside of the capital. They might be a good contact for you all to reach. At this point, she sits down at the writing desk and pulls out her book from her hip, and then begins flipping through. You can see now that when it's closed, the book looks like just a very finely made spell book that you've seen trash on multiple various wizards and sorcerers And as she opens this book up, it's almost like opening up one of those accordion binders that that it spreads out, and it's much wider, almost to the point where it looks like a Rolodex. And she's flipping through, trying to find contact information. And as she stops on a particular page, she begins to write down on a piece of parchment a few notes for you all. And let me go ahead and pull up world map real quick. Remove that. Right now, you all are here in Mirstadt, on the south center part of the continent. The Fidi Dunes are here, obviously, and then Callista is the capital of the Jamila dynasty, one of the largest cities on the continent. Probably as large or larger in scope, just by square footage of the city, than Mirstadt. Mirstadt is not as wide as it is just very dense by the amount of trade routes and things and infrastructure. Because Callista is more, you would remember this, Dazes, is a lot more spread out, but there are segments of the city that are quite dense as well, as you get closer to the main port along the Golden Scale Bay. But she writes down some notes, and then she looks up and, oh, darn it. And she reaches into one of the accordion binder folders and pulls out a map, this map that you all are looking at right now, and spreads it out on the coffee table in front of you. This location here, right on the mouth of the river. My contact is a gold dragonborn. I'm sorry, not gold, bronze dragonborn. His name is Jamil. He's the third son of the dynasty's ruler, the current ruler. So he's one of the lesser nobility, if you will, but still a member of the royal family. If anyone knows and can get you access to the dunes and give you safe guidance to find out what's going on, it would be him.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Catherine.
I wish I could accompany you, but I have other matters I must attend to. In fact, I need to bring this to a higher authority within the magistrate immediately. This is extremely concerning. Lunarium is not a substance that we trade lightly. It is, in its raw form, it can be untethered, dangerous even. To know that it's being harvested from living creatures is a terrifying prospect. I don't know how or why this is occurring, but I need to bring this to a higher authority as soon as possible. And as she's doing this, you see she's writing a note as well. And Dazes, with your passive perception, you see that same name that you saw filigreed in gold at the reception desk. As she begins to write notes and begins to write a message to be delivered to someone. But you see that same name, that Darius Oberson, at the very top of this message.
Okay.
I'll bring this to the appropriate parties. At this time, I ask you all, you already intend to go that way. I would talk to Jamil. They'll certainly be able to at least do something. Explain to them why you're there. Be extremely respectful. Members of the royal family and Dragonborns in general in that part of the world they are prideful individuals. So I would recommend you show the utmost respect to them. Regardless of their stance, they control that segment of the continent with an iron fist. They're one of the oldest families in the continent, going back to the founding of Irindal.
Understood.
Yes.
Yeah, you all would know at least. Is anybody proficient in history?
I'm pretty sure I'm not.
No.
History. I am.
You would know from your formal training and your studies with Catherine Crash that the continent itself was founded almost over 2 millennia ago. The first 3 major powers that came to be on the continent were the Aelin Prima, the elvish society that vanished from the world many, almost a millennia ago at this point. The other was the Dwarven Dominium in the mountains. And the third were the Dragonborn that later became the Jamila dynasty. And what you know from your history is that it is that singular family that rules. You don't know a lot of details. You just read that one of the prominent features of the Jamila dynasty is the ruling family has ruled the dynasty from its inception. It is the only remaining power from the founding of Irindal that still remains in power. The longest unbroken ruling group on the continent. Much of which is attributed to the fact that they hold a tight grip on the harvesting and distribution of lunarium and other various salts and arcane ingredients from that segment of the continent. And that some of the most powerful spellcasters and from your experiences and your discussions with Catherine, that the first tower of the Magisterium Arcanum is in Callista. That the main headquarters of the Magistrate is in Callista. So, like I said, please get in contact with Jamil. I'll finish writing you a letter of introduction and send it on to him as soon as possible. Perhaps he'll be able to arrange something, a tour even, so that we might have an idea of what might be going on. But it is, I can assure you, it is a well-guarded secret. Those who have tried to smuggle or steal from the dynasty are oftentimes met with a swift and very public execution. So, as I said, do be on your best behavior.
I look over at Floof.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some coaching before we get there.
What?
I love that everybody just kind of looks. there's this unspoken thought. Just everybody looks at Floof. But before you go, I can certainly try to help you all as best I can. I don't have many things here, but I can try to at least give you some assistance. And she writes down a list of various spells that she can cast up to 2nd level for you all. So she can give you 1 spell scroll of any 2nd level spell that you would like. Or she can give you 2 1st level spells to each of you as spell scrolls. So if you all want to decide what you would like, she can go ahead and cast those now, and you'll have those for your journey.
Interesting.
Okay.
You don't have to be a spellcaster to use these, because they'll already... You just basically read them off from the scroll, and it acts on her spellcasting ability.
Got me wondering if buying that potion of speed was the right move.
Well, haste is a 3rd level spell.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
Nice.
haste
So
is
worth it.
Yeah, so haste is a different... Yeah, haste is a 3rd level spell.
Wait, so you said 2 first or a 2nd, right?
Yeah, two 1st level spell scrolls or 1 2nd level spell scroll. And you guys don't have to decide now, but, just before the...
Next session, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
before
Okay.
the next session.
That works. That way I could kind of look. But I'll go 2nd level, I think. But we'll see.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Trash, I will also be putting in a recommendation to you when I speak with my superiors. That hopefully in the near future you'll be formally inducted into the magistrate.
Thank you, Catherine. I really appreciate you. And
Of course. Is there anything else you all would like to ask Catherine before the day is up?
I think I got the only answer to the only question she could or that I care about, so I'm good.
Okay. Well, with the various spells cast, the various spell scrolls cast for you all, Catherine then gives you all she gives you a stipend each of 100 gold
Let's fucking go.
as well. Try to get some rest this evening. You have a long journey ahead of you. How you choose to get there, I assume it's going to be at least a week or two's journey to get to where you're going. Whether you take to the seas or you go by land. Each has their own individual challenges. The ports are quite busy this time of year, but you all have shown some fantastic initiative to make your way here already, so I understand, or I feel you are qualified to do so. I will say if you go overland, be careful. There's been a number of raids in that area recently as you go northwards, west of the Landscale Alliance. Various orcish and goblin tribes have been growing quite bold in that area. You do well to take caution. I will try to stay in touch. Trash, you have means of contacting me. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. In the meantime, I will speak to my superiors and try to assist you in any way I can. But you are my eyes and ears on the ground in this situation, unfortunately. So I'm relying heavily on your ability. And with that, she bids you all a good evening. Says her goodbyes to you in particular, Trash. Please do be safe.
You as well, Catherine. Take care.
She departs with a few members that she arrived with via the teleportation circle up to some of the upper offices of the tower to begin discussing and contacting their superiors. And from here, you all have a bit of time to find a rest. You're welcome to stay at one of the various inns in town. There's a wide variety of taverns and inns spread across the city, as this is a major trade route, so they're very accommodating to traders and travelers of all kinds, as you're quite familiar, Dazes. I would say it's about $1 per person per night to stay at one of the various inns. And from there, I think... I'm sorry. The following evening would be when you discussed with Enrique Sandes about traveling alongside Aniela through one of their escape routes.
Yeah, so about like 24-ish hours from now, right?
Right. It would be in the evening is when they generally travel.
Mm-hmm.
As to avoid the view of the guard, as well as any parties of inquisitors that might be actively looking for individuals. And as he discussed with you all, it's they are heading towards an otherwise obscure exit not on the main docks, is the gist of the conversation that you got. That they may have a means of escaping the city via a hidden, non-official port somewhere along the coast.
Makes sense.
But at this time, I think that's probably a good stopping point for the evening. Since we've been going for about almost 3.5 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I concur.
I'm Floof.
Yeah, it does.
I really did. I was thinking about it like 3 hours in. I was like, this went by pretty fast. But like, if I was standing still or sitting still at my computer for work, like 3 hours feels like an eternity. So it's just funny how that's how it is.
Right. So we'll assume you all, I don't think you spent anything, or if you did, go ahead and hit the long rest again, if you didn't already. So you'll start the following day or next session at full hit points with all your spell slots and everything, as you all prepare to accompany Aniela through the their various escape route.